Bearing Witness to the Truth, Harold Cooke Phillips, copyright 1949. Continued reading. This Christian concept of our value as derived solely from our relationship to God is many a sea mile from the secular concept of the worth of the individual as propounded by such thinkers as Comte or John Dewey, who seems to find something intrinsically valuable in the individual as such. Actually, apart from his relationship to God, there is nothing in the individual which in the long run makes him any more intrinsically valuable than any other creature, since without God, both in the long run share the same fate. That is why Harnack is right in saying Jesus Christ is the first to bring the value of every human soul to light. A third major insight of Jesus, which follows from what I had termed his basic teaching, is his emphasis on brotherhood or community. This follows logically, for the quality that makes any individual of value, his relationship to God, makes every individual of value, since every individual is potentially a child of God. The value of each individual, therefore, is an inherent one and derives from his worth as a child of God, regardless of the accident of birth, station, or nation. What therefore makes one man inherently valuable makes all men so, since all are children of God. This means that the walls which pride, ignorance, or prejudice build are broken down, and individuals are lifted clearly and viewed in the all-encompassing light of children of the God and a Father of us all, who hath made of one blood all nations of men, for to dwell on all the faces of the earth. Acts 17:26. This explains the Master's revolutionary concept that we are all members of a family of God, and so members one of another. Jesus taught this by rejecting the title Son of David and choosing instead Son of Man. He taught it by refusing to help restore the kingdom of Israel, a kingdom that was essentially nationalistic, and proclaiming instead the kingdom of God, a frontierless kingdom to which men would come from the east and the west, bound in spiritual kinship, which transcends every barrier. He taught it by bravely breaking through the barriers of race and class and bringing Samaritans, Syrophoenicians, Romans, publicans, and sinners within his fellowship. In these and other ways he taught that all men are members of God's family. Whosoever shall do the will of my Father, the same is my brother. Matthew 12:50. This too brought him into heated conflict with his contemporaries, whose racial and nationalistic pride made the truth of universalism an anathema. The fourth teaching of Jesus is his emphasis on inwardness. Men are not to be judged by their outward acts, merely by their inner motives. This too grows out of what I have called his basic teaching. For since man is essentially a spiritual being, then obviously it is not what a man does, but the spirit, the motive in which he does it, that reveals the true character of the man. A seemingly good deed, if prompted by an unworthy motive, is, according to Jesus, not a good deed. Similarly, the evil in an evil deed is not in the deed, but in the motive. The sin in murder is not the act, but the impulse of hate that prompts it. So too it is not the act that makes a man an adulterer, but the lustful look which makes one commit adultery in his heart. Perhaps one reason why the Master says we should not judge is that we often cannot know what in the back of man's actions, be they good or evil, and not knowing the motive, we cannot know the man. Consider now the bearing of this emphasis of Jesus on truth. Why did Christ, the truth, put the emphasis upon inner motive rather than outward act? For two reasons, I think. First, a man who outwardly by his act says one thing, while inwardly he is intending another, is a man who lacks sincerity. Jesus' word for it was hypocrisy. He is like a counterfeit coin. He looks genuine, but he is not. He does not ring true. The truth is not in him. This is in part the heart of Jesus' conflict with the Pharisees. Many of them were not what they seemed to be. They were actors playing a part. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You are like unto whitened sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward. Even so, you outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you is full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Matthew 23:27-28. Such a spirit makes the discovery or experience of truth impossible. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Matthew 5:8. None of us is pure enough. In this sense, most of us see through the glass darkly. 1 Corinthians 13:12. But the fact is that the degree to which we apprehend eternal truth is measured by our sincerity.